Savarut, Nordling, Netamar! Godef me, sir.
I'll keep a close eye on him, Mom. Don't you fret.
No two ways to it. Charming this county the Blackclads granted Caldwell to rape.
Yes, a gift so lovely Caldwell could not refuse. At Dahi, it seems, wished to be rid of the Count, so as to rule Lyria alone.
I do wonder why they quarrelled.
Caldwell wished to rule by Willem's hand, and by his claim. Of little benefit to Nilfgaard, so the general disapproved.
As do I. By all means.
I'm coming.
Her Majesty is exceptional.
Again and again and again. An army's a waste of time for one like me.
Elven blood. Ha ha! Leave it to us! Scoia'tael! Attack!
Water is a poison.
on, get our arses moving. Never had your kneecaps broken.
So much anger and suffering. For what?
What a little poison.
For Mahagam! Ever had your kneecaps broken? Yeah, yeah!
Oh, Lady Margarita told us of this.
Elven blarney.
Wait, you're serious?
Aye.
We'll catch 'em all!
What do you want of me?
The Lyrians came to a crossroads. As Meve and her scouts conferred about the proper path to take, a footman, of a sudden, collapsed upon the muddy ground. His comrades strove to rouse him. Alas, to no avail. Meve called for a medic. One arrived, post-haste. He checked for wounds, a heartbeat, all else for which a medic checks. Then he peered down the soldier's throat. In a flash, he was on his feet, his hand over his mouth, backing away.
What's with him? What's wrong?
The Queen asked, her eyes darting between the medic and his patient.
Typhus exanthematicus, Your Grace.
Replied the physician, wiping his hands with a spirit-soaked cloth.
Typhus fever.
Contagious?
Extremely, I fear. Though not yet at this stage. The spots are but in his mouth for now. Tomorrow he'll be blotched all over. It's then the disease turns infectious.
I see. What about a cure? Is one known?
The medic looked at Meve, shook his head and shrugged. Alas, there was precisely naught he could do. But where medicine fails, magic may at times stand in. Without giving it two thoughts, Meve called for Isbel.
It's typhus, I've no doubt.
The healer confirmed.
I know a spell that could be helpful. Vigal's cleansing, we call it. It takes time to prepare and many ingredients. Rather costly, or...
Coin's no object,
said Meve.
Get to work at once.
Isbel returned from the local herbalist with herbs valuable and rare. Fern blossoms, mandrake root, comfrey seeds, and more. She then pulled from her bundle a variety of vessels, funnels, retorts, alembics, carafes. Colored concoctions she then brewed, steam and strange odors rising from them. Hours later, after much effort, she had a few drops of a thick substance in a flask. Isbel whispered an incantation, then gave the remedy to the dying man. His tremors and fever subsided at once, the other symptoms fading within hours. At last, Meve could breathe a deep sigh of relief.
'Tis a land of monsters. Belongs to them, it does. Human folk are naught but guests here. Beware, me lady. Watch out for leeches especially. They'll slip in your knickers, give 'em half a chance.
never bow to the invader!
One boat's all I need.
It's war you want? Then war you shall have!
Ever have a stone knock out one of your teeth?
Give me a time.
I've hit the white of an eye from half a league away.
Our ballista at your command. Armor won't serve.
No matter what they think, Nilfgaardians won't last long here. Come a time, they'll leave gladly, just like all the others.
For no visible reason, the Lyrian column came to a halt. Neve stood in her stirrups in a bid to see the cause. Something had blocked the way, it seemed. Something large. A tree felled by a storm, or an abandoned wagon, the Queen thought. Neither was true. A boulder huge as a barn lay in their path. Footmen had slung ropes around it, planted their feet, and now sought to pull it aside. It did not budge an inch.
Perhaps I could assist you.
Neve turned in her saddle on hearing the voice. Several travellers in faded robes warily crept from the trees. A young woman with long, light-coloured hair led the way.
You don't much resemble a rock troll.
Said the Queen, eyeing the slender stranger skeptically.
But go on, do try.
The fair-haired lass crouched beside the stone, closed her eyes, and began to whisper. Horses wheeled and tugged at their reins. A hound howled in the distance. And then, the boulder rolled to the side like an apple across the deck of a boat rocked by seas.
Who are you? Do tell.
A druid,
Came her calm response.
this stone. It stood in our circle.
The woman silently turned toward the wood. Neve followed her gaze, and among the trees saw other large stones, cracked and scorched.
What happened here?
We refused the Nilfgaardians' aid,
Answered the druid.
so they raised our shrines. Though, perhaps it's a blessing.
A blessing? How so?
A darkness fell upon Angren a time past, and it grows. The forest turns savage, its creatures drunk on blood. Folk have come to worship other cruel gods. It's time we abandoned this land forsaken and went south, to Kedmerkvid.
Our path leads south too, though not as far.
Said the Queen.
Do join us. Given the times, there's safety in numbers.
The druids agreed, and were grateful. They walked at the rear of the column, muttering prayers, their faces concealed beneath hoods. Angren lies thousands of leagues from the sea. Yet the Imperial fleet looked chiefly to this land for wood, its ashes and oaks ideal for shipbuilding. The lumber was driven down the Yaruga to shipyards in Sintra and Atra. There, day and night, Nilfgaard's fleet grew and grew. So when Meve heard axes steadily hacking, the continual grind of saws, she halted her force and quickly dispatched scouts. Indeed, they found a lumber camp, banners overhead, the great sun blazing upon them. Though not critical to her mission, Meve was nonetheless tempted to disrupt the invader however she could.
The Emperor awaits a mass flow of logs.
Called the Queen, drawing her sword.
But we shall send him corpses! Formation! Follow me!
When the Lyrians rushed forth with a cry on their lips, the lumberjacks dropped their axes. Their black-clad guards, though likewise surprised, formed up and stood ready for battle.
Larvan! Essaytu Navin! Lyrian! Your life is mine now.
Watch your heads!
Wise choice.
Hi-ho, hi-ho!
Angren's gold is not yours to plunder. Begone!
Fight for the Emperor and you might be freed!
Ha!
For Mahagam! Obedience or the lash! Larvan! Essaye to Naveen! Lyrian! Order! Shh! Cog it! Your life is mine now!
Left, right, left, right.
Ever have a stone knock out one of your teeth? I've hit the white of an eye from half a league away. Bigger they are, easier they are to target.
We'll catch them all! Move!
Angren's gold is not yours to plunder. Begone!
Doubt I'll ever pay off these school loans.
Fight for the Emperor and you might be freed! This could hurt. To work!
again and again and again.
Catch him! He's worth 20 florins!
Elven blood.
Quick and painful this'll be.
Nilfgaard's ranks folded. Soldiers fled in fright, stumbling over felled trees and corpses. The air was heavy with the scent of resin and blood. As she caught her breath, the queen looked about. Hundreds of trees lay cut down in rows. Oak and ash enough to keep the shipyards working till winter. Neve ordered the lumber requisitioned, yet one of the loggers approached her. A man with a face like old leather, sawdust in his hair.
Good lady, I know you war hard against Nilfgaard. I know you'd keep timber out of their hands, but then see, we won't get paid. We'll see no coin till Sintra's shipyards see lumber. It's what the Blackclads said. I beg you, have mercy. We're simple folk. Been slaving since spring, got families to feed. And hunger looms ever close in wartime.
Neve looked at the logger's hands. Thick scars, crisscrossed fingers twisted by years of axe work.
This wood I cannot allow to reach Nilfgaardian shipyards.
She said.
Yet neither can I let you go hungry. I shall take the wood and pay you from my own purse.
You've got blisters on my hands from all this work. Weren't enough the coals on my feet, ye gods. You've a big heart, my lady. Not many folk like you, especially not in Angren. The land bedevilled in many ways. You've a big heart, my lady. Not many folk like you, especially not in Angren. The land bedevilled in many ways. Never ends, I tell you. We'll never finish this blasted work. Work, work, work. And do I see anything from it? Even a measly, bloody crumb? Never ends, I tell you. We'll... Work, work, work. And do I see anything from it? Even a measly, bloody crumb?
Worked in a mess once at serving no meat, not even sausage. Weren't long before the men rioted.
Your Majesty? Are you well?
Yes. Yes, but the stench.
In Angren, all decomposes, be it dead or very much alive. Rot blights trees, seeping sores torment beasts, and the whole swamp emits the acrid, stifling stench of decay. So when, in the swamp's distant corner, the Lyrians caught whiffs of smoke and roasted meat, they stopped dead in their tracks. The scouts followed their noses to a clearing framed by a palisade. Through the gaps in the posts, they spotted a small fort.
Any banners upon it? Whose do you see?
Asked the Queen.
There aren't none, your grace. Not one golden sun, not one silver lily.
Meve gave the gate a few solid knocks with her shield. Moments later, a dozen armed men appeared atop the rampart. The one who led them wore a beard.
Who are you? Why are you here?
I'm Meve, Queen of Lyria and Rivia. At war with Nilfgaard, I ventured into these swamps.
Is there a war on? Hey, that's news. Certainly, but little concern to me. The name's Gimpy Gerwin and I rule these lands.
Is that so? As conferred upon you by whom?
By me! Angren's a good bit larger than folk think. And no dukes or emperor's fingers stand to reach its every corner. Thus I just up and took this particular nook. Made it mine. So let's parley, Meve. One ruler to another. At the risk of being blunt, I don't care who wins this war. but I'll want to be in good standing with whoever does. So, I offer you a fire at which to warm your limbs. Also, a place at my table and beds for you to rest. On condition, you pledge to me one very small thing. To respect the sacred laws of hospitality.
So be it. I do solemnly swear before the gods and my ancestors that we shall honor all the laws of hospitality.
Then you're most welcome inside.
The fort was simple, built of logs, covered with thatch. Oh, but inside, it was warm, dry. Hot, steaming dishes were piled upon platters, the tables beneath them bent from their weight. Smiles appeared on her soldiers' drained faces, and Maeve's spirits were lifted at last. Gerwin proved a cordial host, and eagerly shared both food and tales. He'd led a mercenary band, and they'd stumbled into Angren, discovered a land unclaimed by any feudal lord. He'd erected the fort, then united the surrounding villages under his very own rule.
The folk here are savage, defiant,
he said, sipping wine.
I keep them on a tight lead for their own good. Elsewise they'd slit your throat first chance they got.
Late that night, Maeve went to see if her mare had been dressed. In the stable, she happened on a farmhand. Recognizing the Queen, the man fell to his knees and averted his eyes. Maeve noticed a strange object dangling from a rope around his neck. A human hand, half rotted to the bone.
What? What is that?
My wife's hand, Your Grace,
stammered the peasant.
Lord Gerwin caught her sneaking some grub. Scraps, really. Took her and told me to wear it, so I'd remember what happens when...
Maeve left the stable without uttering another word. She went straight to the servants' barracks. In the pale glow of her torch, she looked over the peasants. All terrified, all with fresh, bleeding wounds. The Queen felt rage rise inside her. The Queen reached for her sword, but she'd taken an oath, so her hand paused on the hilt. Gerwin was cruel, deserved to be punished. But Maeve would not do the deed. The Queen blew her horn, woke her men from sweet slumber. She ordered them to assemble. They would march out at once. Gerwin rushed out, confused, to ask what had happened. Maeve gave no answer, save to spit at his boots.
Entering the swamp's easy. Trouble's getting out. Entering the swamp's easy. Trouble's getting out.
In the distance, Meave spotted a spindle-like shape, which soon proved an enormous, dark obelisk. It stood in the middle of a wetland clearing. Dozens of iron rings dangled from its shaft, clinking and rattling in gusts of wind. Cows, donkeys, and dogs were gathered round the stone, all tied to the rings by ropes. Their hides showed many shallow cuts, seeping blood, festering, drawing mosquitoes in swarms. A number of the animals struggled against their cords, while others, near dead, lay still in the wet, tall grass. Across the clearing, folk emerged from the woods, a handful of peasants with a mule in tow. The beast resisted, stomped and planted its hooves, perhaps sensing its gruesome fate. The Queen decided to question the peasants, and soon learned the animals were their sacrifice to the swamp gods.
They're all about, dearie. Very close. Oh, very, very close.
The toothless old woman whispered.
They hide neath murky waters. Can't feed when they hear the drip drip of blood. The gods look kindly on those what make an offering.
I know nothing of your gods,
began the Queen, her nose crinkled in disgust.
but any that demand such grisly tribute are not at all worthy of reverence. What you do to these creatures is savagery. Savagery I can't allow.
Run us off, you can.
Replied the old shrew.
But soon as you're gone, we'll come back. As ever, we'll come back.
This I know. So I must take care to leave you naught to come back to.
Over the peasants' howls and pleas, Meave ordered the obelisk brought down. Her soldiers gripped the ropes that hung from it and toppled the shaft. As it hit the ground, it shattered into many small pieces.
You say you know nought of our gods?
The old woman's eyes narrowed, her voice grew darker still.
Well, don't you worry your head, sweetie. You'll meet him soon enough. They'll tangle you apart. Sow a pox among yous, drive it to madness, every last one! I curse you, all of you, in Gerdacor's name!
Undisturbed by the Harridan's screamed threats, Meave rode on. But her men whispered long of the curse. It weighed on their minds, poisoned their hearts. Each misstep, misfortune, they saw as punishment for their sacrilege. Meve stood waiting while her scouts cut through the tangled branches and roots that had overgrown the trail through the swamp. Suddenly, a soldier doubled over and began to retch blood. The same symptoms soon afflicted others in her ranks.
A potent poison,
was the medic's verdict. It seemed all those who'd fallen ill had shared a tent. One night, they'd chattered about an obelisk they'd destroyed and the group of incensed peasants who'd cursed them for it. Fearing for their lives, the footman had gone to a local herbalist. She'd brewed them a potion to ward off black magic. Alas, the concoction had proved poisonous, while the herbalist had vanished without a trace. Happily, Isbel concocted an antidote in time to deliver the soldiers from a certain and agonizing death. The mage explained their misfortune had not issued from a dark, corrupt force, but from simple human wickedness. Her calming voice and gentle smile lifted the soldiers' spirits. Trusting in her care, they soon wholly forgot the so-called curse. Meve rode at the front, her eyes fixed on the ground, and thus spotted the pit masked by leaves and branches. She tugged hard on her reins and steered her mount to the side. Alas, the cavalrymen behind her did not follow her lead. Leaves rustled, boughs snapped, and the horseman crashed to the pit's bottom, snapping his neck. Moments later, it was clear who'd set the trap, when the forest came alive and a cry rang out.
It's a trap! Rally to me!
Wise choice.
Catch!
Never had your kneecaps broken!
Is that why?
Order!
There's not to reason why.
Your life is mine now. Elven blarney. Estella Zweifel!
So much anger and suffering. For what?
A highly curious case.
Her Majesty is exceptional.
Retreat! Fall back!
Caught between Lyrian hammer and Skelligan stone, Nilfgaard was shattered, destroyed. The victors now stood eyeing each other. These islanders were not like those Meve had met before. They wore no armor and carried no shields. At their fore stood a man as stout as an ox and bald as an ancient ghoul. His men called him Arnulf, the Patricide.
I thank you for your aid, Arnulf,
said Meve, extending a hand.
Aid, she says. Aid? Do you hear that, mates?
The Skelligers exchanged glances, then erupted in roaring laughter.
Not here to help yous, not at all. We're after killing.
Join me and you shall have your fill.
Join nuisance? Just who the hell are you?
Meve, Queen of Rivia and Lyria.
Meve?
Arnulf said, his tone sobering.
I know the name. Lippy Goodman called ye bold, praised your courage to the high heaven. So be it. We'll follow ye into fire, wench. Just let us taste of blood. Grant us a death worthy of heroes.
Meve couldn't help but smile, then nodded to accept. The Lyrians stepped aside as tattooed warriors joined their ranks.
Arnulf, find a place at one of the tables. Have a drink. Meet my men.
Think there's been a failure to communicate, lass? I didn't join your army to meet men, but to meet death. A good, honourable death. Quicker you lead me to that, the better.
I wish not to pry, but why do you long for death?
For only death can cleanse me of shame. You must have heard what they call me. Arnulf the Patricide. A moniker I earned. Oh, I did.
To die by one's child's hand. A terrible fate. And it shall be mine as well if I lose this war.
But did you earn it, this fate?
What? Not always have I been just with Willem. I dismissed him, neglected him, but...
Neglected? Listen, lass. My da, he beat me till my skin turned blue and I chucked red bile. He'd drink and beat. My brother, Ulf, da clobbered him to death. My ma, she took her own life. Never met this son of yours. But I know you's a bit now, and I can say this. No kin of yours needs slaying.
I can't help but wonder. What does it signify? The tattoo on your head?
Ain't a tattoo. Carved these runes with a knife.
The method makes little difference. What do they mean?
Aim here. Message for enemy archers. Alas, don't seem they can read it. At least not from a distance. And when they get close, it's already too late for them.
So long, Arnulf.
The scouts rode at the fore, with Meve right behind them. Their task, to find safe passage for the rest of the force. One among them probed for the quagmire's depth, a pole of 5 ells in hand. Suddenly, all heard a loud clang. The scouts dismounted, then heaved a bronze statue from the mire. Once it was cleaned of slime and muck, Meve instantly recognized its elven handiwork. The sculpture was exceedingly well preserved, save one detail. Someone had removed its face, leaving a black hole in its stead.
Search the environs,
ordered Meve. Amongst some brambles, they discovered the entrance to a vast tomb. Its doors had been torn open. On the ground before them lay scattered bones, some yellowed with age, others fresh, cracked and tattered from having been gnawed. Meve stood silent and contemplating at the tomb's threshold. Then, torch in hand, she entered and waded into fetid waters. Her soldiers followed close, arms at the ready, a nervous sweat on their brows. Frescoes on the tomb walls depicted Angren swamps and the beasts that prowled them. 2 words were inscribed over the largest of the horrors: Gwern Iker.
The bloody mistress,
Barnabas Beckenbauer whispered. Suddenly, a roar thundered from deeper inside the tomb. Meve turned from the frescoes to see monstrous eyes blazing in the dark.
To me! We'll not die this day!
God is freer!
It's so dark and wet. Why is it everywhere we go it's dark and wet?
Oh, Lyrian lummoxes.
Come here! Let's dance!
Is today the day? Cork it.
In her torch's feeble glow, the Queen examined the beast's corpse. She could not help but to shudder in disgust.
Perhaps it's better,
She thought.
that we faced it in the dark.
At the corridor's end, they found a closed door. Before any could draw near, it opened with a crash. Beyond lay a circular room. Light shone through a hole in the chamber's ceiling, illuminating a stone pedestal and the sword that lay upon it.
The air in here, it crackles with magic,
whispered Isbel. Meve gripped the blade's hilt. A soothing warmth filled her arms and spread across her shoulders. Her tired muscles ceased trembling. Her fingers, stiff as sticks, relaxed. She brandished her prize, the air hissing as the blade sliced through it. She then nodded approvingly. The reward had been worth the risk. Barnabas Beckenbauer, a gleam in his eye, asked to look at the unsheathed sword. The gnome studied the quillions intently, having spotted an inscription there.
Can you say what's written there?
Asked Meve.
Yes, perhaps. They're clear, the words. Their meaning, not necessarily so. Wieldeth me, and loseth not hope amongst the blood-red waters.
It sounds like a riddle, but I've no wish to solve. We should move on, and quickly so.
Beware! The bloody mistress despises those who kill her servants.
Ugh, we're only winter here. Swamp'd freeze over. Kill the skeeters dead. Milady, you've a tick behind your ear. Looks he's bout to burst. Milady, you've a tick behind your ear. Looks he's bout to burst.
Your Grace, the charts say we near Tusley.
Angren renders charts helpless to show the way, I fear. Soon we shall halt to sight our exact position. We will know then if our path is true.
As you wish, Your Grace.
Meave and the horseman beside her exchanged a perplexed glance. They'd heard the song clearly, both its tune and its verse. Whoever had hollowed it had to be close, and given their diction, rather well oiled. Moments later, a hamlet appeared to the Lyrians' tired eyes. A great bonfire blazed at its centre. Around it danced peasants, barefoot, giggling, hooting, joyful and carefree. One by one, they noticed the Queen. Soon, all were silent, huddled together, children peering from behind their backs.
Fear not,
said Meave.
We mean you no harm. What do you celebrate? A lad's grooming? Nuptials?
Nay, my lady. Hell yes. The gods have been kind. Filled us nets and snares with game. Come time we thank them.
Yes. You've things to be thankful for.
We do, my lady. And we's poor folk. So a queen. Well, you must as well. Your Majesty, stay tonight, feast with us. There'll be music and plenty of rum by the fire.
Why not?
Began Meave, daintily dismounting.
We all deserve some respite, I suppose.
The Lyrians needed no convincing. With astonishing haste, they removed mail and helmets, then eagerly joined in the feting and dance. Amidst the trilling of flutes, fifes, and fiddles, all those gathered revelled until dawn. They could rest at last, forget about Nilfgaard and the many beasts that prowled among the reeds. They'd long remember that night. The carefree laughter, peasant maids whirling in dance, the ale cold as a mountain spring, and the bread they crisped over the fire. One exchange in particular etched itself into the Queen's mind, an exchange she overheard.
Not a little? Not even a teeny tiny bit?
I'll say it again. It's not your concern.
Of course it's not. Wouldn't be so damn curious if it were. So be it. Keep your silence. But those eyes like the summer sky, that hair like waves of grain. I see the way you gape.
What do you two speak of?
Your Majesty.
Couldn't have answered that better myself.
Who does Reynard gape at?
Ha! The new ballista, what else? Ah, what a piece of work. Pure art, I say. Can't tear your eyes away for an instant.
Haven't you two held enough from me already? Don't play me for a fool. What's this about?
Meave, honestly, you do better to...
It's a private matter, Your Grace. One of the heart, you might say. If you'd allow it, I'd rather not share the details of our conversation.
All right. I'll leave you to discuss whatever men discuss. Consider me gone.
Meave turned and walked back to the fire, sat down on an old stump.
Ha! That was close. Shh!
And the faintest of smiles crossed her lips. Meave expected the villagers to request recompense for their welcome. Yet the peasants made not the slightest mention of coin, and the queen was much moved by their kindness. Once again, those with the least had proved the most willing to share. The Lyrians did not assemble come the morn. The force marched off in the afternoon, unshaven, unbathed, dishevelled. Not normally one to overlook contempt for discipline, that day Meave understood even soldiers needed to let their guard down, at times.
Admire, admire, ample harvest yield, for our mistress all need be kneeled. Round my garden appeared an eager leech, and I offered a drink. Round my garden, round my... Admire, admire, ample harvest yield, for our mistress all need be kneeled.
Ugly bad, play us more your prose. Sing again, we'll dance a bit, and then we'll fix your nose. Ugly bad, play us more your prose. Sing again, we'll dance a bit, and then we'll fix your nose.
Sensing a limp in her mount's gait, Meave ordered the column to halt. There was a thorn in her mare's hoof, burrowing deeper with every step. The horse whinnied and pulled her leg away, but Meave knew how to calm her. She stroked the mare's cheek, whispered slow words in her ear. She then extracted the thorn without difficulty.
I'm sorry to interrupt,
Said the druid from behind Meave's back.
Yet this is where our paths diverge. We've a modest gift to thank you for the road shared, and for your aid at the obelisk to the marsh gods.
Meave wished to respond, but the druids had turned toward the woods, their satchels slung over their shoulders. The queen waited till they were out of sight to open the bundle. Their gift was by no means modest.
The trees no longer wish us here. They call for someone else. This land is sick, defiled by a parasite that grows hungrier each day.
In Angren's swamps, one can easily lose one's way. Thick fog fills the air, paths end without warning, dense thickets obscure the distance. The sole way to determine one's position is to climb a tree and peer out over the canopy. This duty fell to Meave's scouts, while the force halted below. During one such delay, Meave caught the words she'd longed to hear.
Majesty! Tuzla Castle! Its tower! I see it!
To her soldiers' astonishment, Meave cast off her gauntlets and started up the nearest trunk. She longed to see the castle for herself, but then she would know sweet vengeance was at hand. The climb proved tricky, as the trunk was slippery and the branches, run through with rot, were frail. Yet Meave showed herself to be skillful and spry. As a child, she had loved to scale trees, much to her governess' dismay. Meave looked out to see a mighty stone tower outlined against the horizon. Legend holds Tuzla Castle was to have had 3 such bastions. Yet King Ragbard, the fort's benefactor, had forsaken the effort when yet another stone transport simply sank into Angren's boggy roads. It was a moment of respite for Meave, a moment of quiet joy. She breathed and tasted air free of the bog stench. She took in silence undisturbed by the hum of mosquito swarms. And she relished her prospects. The coming battle against Caldwell. The soldiers stood exhausted and filthy, many with raspy coughs, all sick of the meagre gruel. But with the command to advance, a new strength sparked within them. Their step was lively, a fire burned in their eyes, each hoping to spill Caldwell's entrails, then dash them upon the fort walls. Yet as they drew near the stronghold, perched atop a stone isle, their verve dwindled, enthusiasm waned. They had taken fortresses with thicker walls, taller towers, and manned by more men. Yet they'd never seen nor laid siege to a fort standing on land so ill-suited. To rush the bulwarks through waist-deep mud. Was this even possible?
Prove I was no fool to keep you at my side,
said Meave, turning to Gascon and Reynard.
A slaughter I must avoid. How will I do it?
Your Grace,
began Reynard.
Set our machines to sling boulders. At the west wall, it's weakest. 'Tis our best chance at a breach.
Our men'll need cover,
added Gascon.
Reeds we must harvest and burn. Smoke will cloak us, conceal us from the castle's defenders.
Good.
Agreed the Queen.
Now get to work.
Amidst billowing blue smoke, Lyrian footmen rushed through the breach wrought by Reynard's catapults. Though she had yet to forgive her companions, Niamh had to admit they'd given her sound advice.
Caldwell, I've come for your head.
I knew you'd come. Your lofty pride presages another dramatic fall.
Again and again and again.
Wise choice.
God is Freya!
Order!
Your life is mine now.
An army's a waste of time for one like me.
How's the thing, all right?
Company! Forward, man! We must exploit the breach in their fortifications, Your Grace.
I'd hoped we could solve this some other way.
Coin never stinks, no matter how rank the pouch. Their archers shouldn't be any more trouble.
Caldwell, I've come for your head.
I knew you'd come. Your lofty pride presages another dramatic fall.
Her Majesty is. We must exploit the breach in their fortifications, Your Grace.
Life is mine now.
Nothing personal, I assure you. Their archers shouldn't be any more trouble.
Wise choice. Order!
Army's a waste of time for one like me.
Never had your kneecaps broken! elven blarney.
In retreat! To the last!
Caldwell, I've come for your head.
I knew you'd come. Your lofty pride presages another dramatic fall. For Rivia!
Wise choice.
Quick and painful this'll be. Your archers shouldn't be any more trouble.
Order!
My disgrace ends here! Time I wiped it away!
Life is mine now.
Her Majesty knows what she's doing. We must exploit the breach in their fortifications, Your Grace.
Ever had your kneecaps broken?
In retreat!
It's not too late to walk away.
No one touch him! The Count is mine!
Many of Maeve's victories have been immortalized in poetry and song, but not the fall of Tuzla. Lyrians fought Lyrians. Brothers killed brothers, in rain and mud, midst a cursed swamp. Certainly nothing to inspire a bard. Near the battle's end, Maeve stormed the great stone tower to which Caldwell had fled. The Queen ascended the stairs, dealing blow after blow, blood cascading down in her wake. She reached the top floor to find the Count waiting, with no intention to defend himself.
If it's mercy you expect, you'll be sorely disappointed.
Mercy? I know you all too well for that, Maeve. Ever vindictive and cruel.
All this from a paragon of knightly virtues. You stabbed me in the back, Caldwell, and used Willem to do so. My son!
Who agreed without a moment's hesitation? Forsaken by your own son, your flesh and blood. What's that say about you?
Oh, you tread on thin ice. Choose your next words carefully.
Spare me your threats. You'll kill me all the same.
Death can come in many ways, Count. Some quick, some slow.
My, how you strut and vaunt. Terribly sure of yourself. Perhaps too sure.
Your castle is mine. I've crushed your force. I dare say no, I'm not.
Precisely my point. Don't you see? The Empire's not one army, it's dozens, hundreds. It's what I strove to knock into that thick dome of yours. Alas, you're too much a dullard. Soon as I'd learned you'd crossed into Angren, I sent for reinforcements. They'll be here soon. 3 regiments, armed to the teeth.
Nilfgaardians seem ever to have the upper hand, yet I find the means to defeat them.
Not this time, Maeve. Nilfgaard comes in numbers. 10 Imperial footmen to each and every one of yours. You'll not win, nor can you flee. Do you know why?
Enlighten me. I dare you.
But one bridge leads to Tuzla. As it happens, I ordered it raised as you laid siege. The swamps around the castle are too deep to cross. Try to rebuild the bridge, the Imperial troops will arrive before you can finish. Your men they'll slay as you watch, and then they'll wring your neck.
I wouldn't be so pleased were I you. You won't live to see this outcome.
I know that, but I take heart in the truth. Though the castle you've seized and will likely kill me, I've won. Outsmarted you, Maeve. Twice now. And you know what? 'Twasn't even that hard.
With those words, with his arrogance and contempt, Caldwell had gone too far. The Queen gripped his shoulders, pushed. Caldwell stumbled backwards, then tripped out the window. A blood-chilling shriek filled the courtyard, then broke off abruptly.
Now fool me thrice. try.
Meve slapped the dust from her hands. The traitor had met a deserving end at last. Yet this was no time to revel in the Count's demise. If Caldwell had spoken the truth, the Queen and her army were in grave danger. Meve's scouts quickly confirmed the traitor's claim. The bridge was indeed in flames, and Nilfgaardian regiments were advancing from the south. Now to confirm if there was truly no other route by which they could flee, the Queen ordered her men to ask the local peasants. One of their number, a stable hand who'd lived near Tuzla all his life, claimed a secret path led out the back of the stronghold.
King Ragbard himself ordered it built. Had him drop great stones into its swamp, one after another, like beads on a string. Bit of water covers them, so you can't see nowt at start. Can make 'em out if you go proper slow, though.
What is it?
The stones. They lead to Isgith. And there, my lady, lurks an evil worse nor any black-clad army.
What? A beast of some sort?
Some say beast, others god. Gurnikora, they call her. And you'll yet see, my lady. Isgith shines red with your blood.
A silly tale to frighten children, Meve thought at first. Then paused. For something about the man's voice made his every word believable.
None too encouraging, yet preferable to certain death. Tell me, from Isgith, will we reach the banks of the Yaruga, near Red Lobendon perchance?
Aye, your majesty. You need but head north. And pray all along the way.
Soon, Meve stood where the stable hand had said she should, at the edge of a vast marsh. Carefully, she dipped a foot into the broth and probed for solid ground. Sure enough, she found stone. With the path to Isgith hidden from view, Meve proceeded like one blind, moving solely by touch. With each step, she could not know if she would find rock or plunge beneath the black water's surface. The Queen's soldiers followed single file, carefully mirroring her every move. The Lyrians, near the end of their strength, got lucky when a light breeze dispersed the fog to reveal dry land. The Queen let out a sigh of relief.
At last.
Meve kicked off her boots to empty them of water and mud, then promptly screamed.
Ah! What the devils?
But Maeve's words caught in her throat. Leeches and ticks in the dozens dangled from the tree's branches.
Oh, be ashamed to let this beauty go to waste.
You can try to win them all, but you won't.
Ever have a stone knock out one of your teeth?
I only loot corpses, except sometimes they're quite fresh.
Can't take it anymore. Got any victuals? Hungry like a wolf I am.
Thing about slings, they hide well.
this. Not sure for what just yet, but...
Got any victuals? Hungry like a wolf, I am.
Hey?
If the ring won't come off, just take the whole finger.
You can try to win them all, but you won't. Can't take it anymore.
Hey? Ever have a stone knock out one of your teeth?
Oh, shame to let this beauty go to waste.
Got any victuals? Hungry like a wolf, I am. You can try to win them all, but you won't.
I've hit the white of an eye from half a league away.
I only use corpses, except sometimes they're quite fresh.